Good day, class. This is Professor De Leon, and this is a class intended for the group ING 340B Advanced Composition 2. Welcome to class, and thank you for being here. Today we are not able to meet in our classroom because of situations that naturally occur. I'm also part of a committee, and one of the university committees requires me to be in another place during our class time. Not entirely, not through, but during our class time. And to prevent you from staying perhaps in the class, waiting for me arriving late, most likely just for 20, 30 minutes of class at the end, even if it is 1 hour of class, I'd rather just not keep you there for over 40 minutes just waiting for me. So, with that being said, well, as I told you at the beginning of the semester, our classes will not stop. Our classes are kind of sacred. We are not going to diminish our classes just because um, I cannot be there. Even if I'm not present, the class will go on. And, well, this is our class. So, let's get started. And exploiting that, you already know me and you see me. I'd rather just kind of minimize myself, and I'd rather you focus in directly our particular activity. Well, first of all, we have to, well, check what happened. In the past, we have been covering several different topics, plenty of material. In fact, too many. But the best part is, what we have is everything we're doing is working towards our final exam. And as a kind of a middle objective, we can consider our midterm exam number 2, the one we are set to have on our next class. First, what you have to remember is how to pick a topic. And picking a topic is as simple as getting an idea and then just framing it. And then you turn that topic into a title that can be, well, a research, can be turned into a research. And then you have to set your objectives. Usually we have a general objective that guides the general frame, and then some specific ones that somehow help us kind of decompose this large objective into something more manageable. Then the next part would be simply write a literature review, which is nothing more than access previous information about your topic. Again, we're not giving away our objectives or our title. It's just about the topic. And the topic itself, if it is referring to linguistics class, for example, then you should look for, well, whatever is that the situation that you're working with, but directly focusing on the linguistic part or linguistic classes in general. So with that being said, that's the first thing you have to look for. And of course, the literature review is something that we will try to emphasize a little because it is mainly paraphrasing what you have seen or heard. Again, you're going to apply recording speech, which is according to someone, she said that, she said that. So she said that, or let's say De Leon establishes, that's present tense. So there are many ways we can write it. And then once you have the literature review, the only thing remaining is simply continue with whatever we have left, probably methodology, and then start collecting data and such, and analyzing. So the idea is, no, we're not getting too far ahead. We're only focusing on those little elements. And to be honest, I already have my little backup here because I remember I told you that I was going to kind of take notes because I knew that things might go wrong. So, with that being said, I'd rather just, well, go back to something I am familiar with, my agenda. My little agenda includes the elements that we have. For our next exam, we mentioned, it's our next class, we mentioned quotation citation. Basically, you are paraphrasing and including these citations. And then you're also writing research titles and research objectives, and of course, the references we mentioned. So, with that being said, let's just take a quick look into what we have and what we are going to be doing. So, with that being said, let me just get. Oh, I got out of the background. With that being said, let me take a look into what we have. First, we have been writing several elements related to our particular topics. For example, in here we developed the topics that you wanted to, well, later on develop on your own. Then you mentioned the research research topic, first of all, and then there were some tips for writing research titles, and I think you all paid attention to those little things. How to write research titles. The Bloom's taxonomy, which is probably one of the most widespread taxonomies, but it's not the only one. Fink is a pretty powerful one, but it works in a different way. For education, most likely we deal with taxonomy. Bloom's taxonomy mostly for objectives. So when you have an objective, just use it. The research objective title plus two objectives, we think we had it as practices, and we have been working on that, and we did it a few times and give you some feedback, so I think you're clear on that one. Objectives. In the end, we have to put everything here in the objectives. And then we are writing a hypothesis, which is an ideal, supposedly an ideal answer to what we have. But it's not always as easy as it sounds. Sometimes you don't really have any assumption, any hypothesis. So what you have is an assumption that you believe something like, well, would happen based on the literature review that you have been reading. You notice everyone that tries to perform this kind of experiment will have low participation on the subjects, the test subjects. So you definitely know that this might be the case here as well. Anyhow, so there are other research question practices and such, and you have one more thing that is writing references. In this case, I took the time to simply open some references and give you kind of access to them, but again, it's just one of many. Do not feel this is enough. Find more information on your own. For example, here we have a very concise way of getting in-text citations and quotations, and well, the figures and tables that you always have to put them like in the shortest, simplest way. Usually, if you're using bars or lines, well, even pie charts, you will always have to get the columns, and we have to work with that. This is the standard format, so this is the way we should have it at the end of the semester, not now. For our class purpose, that is not necessary. But you have to remember that there are different ways. And regarding these are what we call the table of the tables. The tables will have kind of the shortest, simplest way, and you will only divide the horizontal lines when there are divisions of categories. Otherwise, everything stays the same. You already have the research plan and the research span. They call it table spanner. Basically, it's the title directly or subtitle it has. So in general, you have to be careful with those. References and referencing format. Well, this is for you. I encourage you to please take a look and perhaps read if possible. All right. If you need, you can also you can actually play pause the video. Anyhow, use primary sources. Avoid having secondary based sources. According to someone that said something in another work, someone else's work, then use the source. Go straight to the source. There might be constraints. For example, I need the newest sources. Well, that's good, but we have to be careful. Not always the newest sources will be different. They are just providing more information about the methodology, how they apply it, but don't necessarily mean that they are debunking or adding information to the original, well, the original aspects. those are the pages I am really interested in you to um, take with you, by the way. One author. Yes, it is possible. Two authors. Yes, this is the way you write with two authors. And we think we did a practice based on that. We perform, uh, yeah, there was a practice when we were talking about the minutes in the writing. So again, we do have it. Back to business. This is just one guide. There are many more guides. And out there you can find probably something even better. This is the Concise API Handbook. This is about sending 76 page. I have no idea how concise it is. But it has basically everything we needed. It has plagiarism. It has everything. Hold on. Quotation paraphrasing, line spacing. Okay, it makes sense. Now, oh, that's the importance of plagiarism. Okay, interesting. Okay, let me see if I can get it. This one has general information. Okay, this one is even better. It gives you a broader perspective on how to get it. And apparently she used, okay, we got everything here. Okay, good. So I think we have it. Concise book, check, we got it. APA 7th edition, this is the shortest summary I can imagine of direct quotation and paraphrasing. How do you paraphrase? There are some examples here, and to be honest, I'd rather just take a quick look or a quick dive into them. Reason, this is important, extremely important for you. Now, direct quotation, yes, it is not impossible to use them. I encourage you to avoid direct quotations. Reason, there will be a kind of misconception when people use them. So, um, people believe that if you're not talking about yourself, you directly quote someone else because that person knows more than you about something. I personally prefer to just show the world that I kind of read the material and I am using it to support my own ideas, not necessarily that I copied. Anyhow, the American Library Association was insisted that immigration is crucial. And we also have here paraphrasing. How do you paraphrase? Saying like, okay, this is the way you write when you have two authors, and this is for direct quotation. Okay, narrative citation and parenthetical citation. Okay, I understand the points. Okay, so this is a very nice idea to have close to you. With that being said, this is what we have as our class. Let me just get here. Okay, that's a concise book. This one is another one. This one is another one. Okay, if that is the case, then we have it. And I also suggest all my students to simply get into. Okay, hold on. I just moved something that I shouldn't. Okay, so just get into the page, get into that section called, well, Unit 3. That's all we need at the end. Well, you do remember that we were talking about these elements that we just discussed. Let's see if we can find them. And here they are. Writing references. For this one, all you need to do is simply try to open them, read them, understand them, and remember the differences between a book chapter. You're talking about sources like magazines versus scientific journals, why not? Or maybe a website. If you're getting to have a website that somehow refers to something like a university, that somehow is behind the scenes funding and checking, reviewing, providing the access. So it might be possible to also use those very reputable websites. For example, university websites tend to be truthful. They do not lie, at least not that often, and they do have information that you need, if you really need the information. Now, the next part here, let's take a quick look into it. We mentioned that it was citation machine. Let me see if I can get it. All right, let's take a look at here. This is just one kind of page that I found that has all the information well structured. Even they went to the point of having this particular arrows and everything. Just they edited the video. And let's see if we can make it. We've got access information. And finally, we have the sources. So here, citation. Citation with no author. Then you put the year and you put the title or directly the name of the document. And so on. You have 3 or more authors, one author, multiple works, same year. So there are different ways we can write it. For our particular purpose, we are not going to get into those kind of details, this fine-grained detail. I need you to please write, paraphrase. That's basically what I'm looking for. And with that being said, we have to just take a quick look into literature review. If we get to write a literature review, or perhaps something resembling a literature review, which is probably what you have to, probably not, most likely what you have to do in our midterm exam number 2. Generally speaking, you're going to get information from sources. So let's see if we can get, if we cannot curate sources, we cannot have a kind of a kind of source that actually helps us, we can always get more sources. But Google is not enough. Let's go with scholar.google.com. That's Google Scholar. Google Scholar, by the way, it's an amazing source of information. So you can just find it whenever you need. Let me just see if I can get this and see if I can put it here. Great, here we go. So if we get the information, let's see if we have the topic now. We mentioned in our past, we were talking about the Hampao and Siumai something. So I think the price. Siumai. Let's see if that is the correct spelling. Ban Siumai. Okay, Ban Siumai. Okay, Hong Kong. Sporting Foodscape. Good, lovely. So there is something there. Books from Google. No, maybe not. Let's see here. Is that open access? No, I don't think so. Well, we have to first review our sources. Let's see, this one seems to be a complete chapter, or perhaps it's a journal. So let's have it. Maybe it works. Oh, it does. The second one doesn't seem to be a journal. Get access means that you have to pay. And no, we're using open access information here. So calcium common China, yeah, sure, oh, yeah. Oh, dim sum. So Siumai is based on calcium rich material. Oh, we can use it. Can use that. Login via submission. No. Buy article. $39? No. Not a chance. Childhood, this is and then we have interact into investigation, thus made the calcium content in other constituents of common food consumed by the local population. Alright, it looks okay. Actually, even just this abstract looks amazing. Alright, let's see if we can get something like full job, full works here. Let's see here. Okay. Hmm. Right. Apparently that does not have the information. Hmm. Okay. I think my camera is not entirely necessary at this point because I think you know me. So let me just get rid of the camera because I need to see other elements here. This is fairly new. Definitely new. Hmm. So all of these are considered part of our presentation. Interesting. So I might need Simula's product price list. Hmm. All right. Since we have it, I think it makes sense. Let me just see if I can get full text here. Background. Okay. And in soon. Okay. Then let's take a look and see what exactly is it. So if I want to ask, what is SUMI? Define SUMI. So instead of that, my outline will go something like this. Define what is SUMI. Define what is SUMI. And the other one should be something similar to varieties of SUMI. Then we're talking about who it's SUMI. Mm, so, all right. Apparently, I have some information that might be useful, but what I am looking for mainly is to see if we can paraphrase something, a little phrase related to that. So at least you have an idea. So if I get lo ma jai, ma guy, ga jai, okay, that book is not available. Okay, so if I have it, I can simply prepare my kind of quick outline and explaining what exactly is it that I need. What is your mind? So if that is the case, let me ask that to Google. So yeah, unbelievable, but yeah, Google, but not the same Google that we are familiar with. Let's go to Google Scholar. That might have some ideas, probably better than what we can find here. All right. Okay. This is not even close to a page that we could use. So let's see if we can get into here. Let's see if someone else have done this before. What is Sumai? Let's imagine that we have curated sources, some elements that people already have or give you, maybe the professor gave you some ideas. So actually gives you the topics, the full access to the directly to these particular articles or papers in general. We call them papers just in case. Let me see. Okay. Okay. Hmm. What exactly is human? Okay. And Okay. Uh, I've been trying to read, but this is so much information that I need to see if this is a real article. To be honest, this is too good to be true. So this is basically what I'm looking for. So I was thinking about a crazy topic related to my consumption or something, and unfortunately, I found the exact same information. How does that work? Who consumes the most, and such. So again, it's not an issue, but well, it's kind of new to me. Okay, seems like we have a source of information here. Well, two sources, in fact. The so-called chicken feed that had basically the origin, the source of what Sumai is. So I can simply paraphrase some. So if that's the case, I would probably have to read the abstracts and pay attention to the reading as well. It might take me easily like 4 or 5 minutes if I already know the answers. Now that I have to look for them, it took me over 15 minutes. So it was, well, like 10 minutes just looking for the information. So it's better if you have access to the kind of a pool of information, pool of data, then use it. If not, it's okay. We can actually find it somewhere else. Let me see if it works. All right. All right. If I have to write, I would probably say here. Sumai. Sumai is a common food. Common food sounds too informal. Common dish. Dish in the reasons vary. That we are looking for. There might be a chance. Mhm. So where refers to, let me see, capital letter. Then in this case, we might have to select what was it. That is Louis. 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 Page. Okay. This is just a quick start. This is basically the beginning. It's an introduction, and then we continue with something else that might refer to the origin. I already introduced the concept of what is coming after. Basically, it's a bridge sentence here, but the bridge will be developed as basically the content, specifically of the origin. So basically, the whole background will refer to the origin, or trying to trace back the origin of the word or the term siumai. Now, what define what is a siumai? Well, I think that's the same. Varieties of siumai. There are different varieties here, including variations. They mention the dumplings are so widely available, readily available, that we probably don't notice the differences. So there might be, and they do have some of them. So in general, this is the beginning. You can continue developing two, three, four more, seven more, 10 more, as many as you need. But in general, this is the idea we are going to be doing for our semester. Well, our midterm exam number two. So that's just one way. With that being said, I will also share some information related to the content. Let me see if I can have it already. How to write research question. Okay, I want to believe I have it. This is the gentleman talking. Yeah, I got a little review here. So the page is already available related to the how to do it. And again, don't feel frightened. I cannot do it. In fact, you all can. You did it already. You have done it ever since. So this is research literature, and well, the way to write it, the simple way of identifying or writing this part of text. And I almost forgot to mention that I am actually trying to get as large as needed. Now, with that being said, I want to believe that my students have been paying attention and I really hope everything goes smooth because the idea is again that well, our class continues, but in this case I will only ask you to practice on your own. And remember, don't limit yourself to the information I can give you. I encourage you to perhaps write, and then your writings you can actually ask maybe an AI to give you some insights on how to improve that into basically the elements we mentioned for the exam next class. Mentioned writing references, for example, referencing system. We could say APA 7th, which is probably the one we are going to be working with. So that's one way. And you can simply add and remove and modify this information. So feel free to download it, open it, and again, don't hesitate to find more information if you feel it will be worth it. And with that being said, let's say our class is officially over. Best wishes. Please study for tomorrow's exam, for next class exam.